You're listening to the best of the Morning X. You can also catch it on the Morning X podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or at 99x.com.
Talk to Morning X subscriber Ed Campbell, the guy who was on the Delta flight that had to land in Bangor, Maine after a guy was freaking out, drunk, out of control, wanting more liquor. Fighting flight attendants, going at the pilots.
All righty.
Hey, Ed?
Hey.
Hey, what's going on? Perfect timing.
Oh, thank you very much. How's everyone in Atlanta doing?
Good. You're still in England, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in the Midlands, Central England.
What are you there for? Some kind of conference?
Yeah, I work for a software company in Buckhead, and we're supporting a program over here.
All right. Now, this story, which we would like to have you tell us in detail, this story is now making its way around the internet as if it were an urban legend. I'm serious. No less than 5 people in the last 2 days have forwarded your accounts of what happened on this plane. And if I were to just receive it now without having spoken with you, I would think, all right, this is one of those stories that, somebody made up that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, definitely had to be there to believe it did actually happen.
So take us there. Start from the beginning. You're heading out on a business trip. You're going to England. You get to the airport. Get on the plane.
Where are you sitting?
Business class, like third row. I think I was in seat C.
Yeah, okay. So go ahead.
Take us there.
Okay. Got on the plane. They start kind of the pre-flight drink service and stuff, and he was kind of a little bit loud and a little bit rowdy, but nothing more than anyone else. I guess.
Older guy, younger guy. What do he look like?
He was about 41. He was probably around 6'2", 6'3", and he was probably about 210 pounds or so.
And he's sitting where, and you're sitting where?
I'm sitting in 3C, and he's sitting in 2J, which is just across the aisle, actually.
All right, so go ahead. So continue.
So they basically, they served their early drinks, and then the flight took off. And he was a little bit loud and talkative, but it seemed like it was just carrying on between him and the guy next to him. And, I'd pretty much ordered, they have like an express meal, and I got that, and I was going to try to crash out for a little while, catch some sleep. And evidently, when they started serving drinks again, he really started to carry on and fondled one of the flight attendants as she attempted to give him a beverage.
Now, this
reached
is how...
up and grabbed her.
Yeah.
Grabbed her bum, as they would say over here.
Grabbed her bum.
Grabbed her bum. And you guys are how far into the flight?
At this point, we're probably only about 50 minutes into the flight.
He had to have been loaded when he got on the flight.
Yeah, I mean, you start hearing accounts that other passengers gave, and evidently he missed an earlier flight, so he was basically in the bar for about 8 hours.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so he grabs the...
he really, in all honesty, didn't appear to be, ridiculously intoxicated. I think a lot of people get on those international flights now, had a little bit too much to drink, but they usually just sleep it off.
Yeah, and then those are just the pilots.
Yeah, that's right.
So so he grabs her butt, and
you didn't see that, right?
I did not see that. No, I was actually at that point. I was kind of already starting to crash out a little bit.
All right, he grabbed her.
So evidently they had a couple of words, and then one of the male flight attendants came up and just pretty much talked to him, told him it was inappropriate. He really needed to knock that type of behavior off and whatnot, and that they
those
were
male
going to cut him off from alcohol.
They're always big and strong and pretty
Very
dominating looking. Yeah, threatening looking guys.
Yeah, this one was. He was great though.
So are you hearing the flight attendant now kind of chewing him out?
No, actually, the flight attendants were fantastic. They were really patient and professional. They put up with a lot more crap than I think the average person would have in that situation. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
They gave him every opportunity to pretty much behave himself and just get in line.
They get businessmen all the time though who make subtle passes at him, and they may touch them or brush up against their bum, but not grab it outright.
Oh yeah, businessmen.
This is a definite grabbing.
Businessmen,
rock stars,
part-time wrestling announcers.
Yeah.
So go ahead. So the steward goes over and starts talking to the guy.
So he goes over, pretty much tells him that Delta's made the decision to cut him off from any more alcohol, which just infuriates this guy.
Yeah.
So you're watching at this point, right?
Yeah. Now I'm starting to watch a little bit more. So this, so now he really gets a lot loud. He's cursing at everyone. Had a few choice words for the female flight attendants and the male flight attendant. And when they brought him a plate of food over, he basically heaved the plate of food across the cabin and smashed one of the glasses that he had there. So at this point, the pilot came out and talked to him.
Well, who was flying the plane?
Yeah, that's right.
What were other passengers doing? Just kind of sitting there, not wanting to, at this point, get involved?
Yeah, I guess surprisingly enough, at this point, it was just kind of like Delta seemed like they were really trying to handle it. So I think a lot of the passengers were just letting it go at this point and not really getting involved, because this guy was, you could definitely tell he was a time bomb, you know, and I don't think anyone wanted to really set him off. They thought Delta was going to be able to calm him down and, you know, get going. Who expects something like this?
Well, when they set the food down, did he just kind of flip the tray up in the air and the food flew everywhere?
Yeah, yeah, it pretty much came across where we were sitting and even onto the other side of us. So
okay,
watch those rolls, man. You can get a black eye with those easily.
Yeah,
it's okay. So then what happened?
So the pilot came out and basically at that point told him to straighten up his act, or they were going to make the decision to restrain him for the rest of the flight.
And how do they do that? I mean, if they decide to restrain you,
he's going to tell you.
No.
So go ahead.
So I guess he chose that I was going to call Delta's bluff on it. You know.
What did he start doing?
Just really kept acting up and swearing and cursing at everyone, and a couple of the flight attendants that were coming down the aisle, he would like kind of obstruct them as they were trying to come down the aisle and whatnot.
Wow.
So eventually the two male flight attendants and the lead female flight attendant came over to put the restraint on him, which I'm sure you've seen them, just those long hard wire plastic cuffs that attach.
Oh, they had some of those?
Yeah, they had a couple on the flight, surprisingly enough.
The ones that cops use for rioters?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So wait a minute. So the guy's sitting there raising hell, and he sees the three flight attendants coming his way. Are they lurking over to him or marching right over with the cuffs in plain view?
Yeah, they pretty much came over, and they even gave him the last option of, you know,
sit
here's
down
your
and
chance. You can either straighten up here or put the cuffs on, and he pretty much started mouthing off and swearing at him. So at that point, they're, you know, trying to get his hands in front of him so they can put the cuffs on him. The first pair, they actually locked before they ever got them on him, because I don't think they knew how they worked. So they had to toss those out. But so now the four of them are struggling. The three, you know, flight attendants and the guys trying not to let him do it.
So he's sitting in his chair still, and they're trying to pull his hands out in front of him on his laps where they can tie him together.
You got it. You got it. So at that point, you know, he's starting to struggle, and he's definitely a lot bigger and stronger than probably the three of them put together.
Right.
So I just kind of hopped up out of my seat and grabbed the female flight attendant and just told her, you know, I would help out. And the guy that was sitting directly behind him pretty much jumps up at that point and kind of grabs him under the chin to pull him back a little bit, you know, to try to keep his head still and stuff, and I guess cut off his air a little bit so they could get the get the things cuffed on him.
Can you
was he, a Green Beret? The guy jumps up and puts a lock on his throat?
He probably reached around the back of the chair and just like chin locked him while they tried to pull his arms around.
I'm sure by this point everyone is so frustrated they'll, you know.
Frustrated and a little freaked out. Was the guy screaming still? Like, you mother this, you mother that, I'm going to kick your...
Yeah, it was just constant yelling and swears at this point, and at all of us, and you know, the whole deal. So.
And yet it still hasn't really gotten out of hand yet.
No, I mean, even at this point, it's still, you know, I guess looking back on the situation, it's still normal.
Right, exactly. So, so you're still trying to hog tie the guy.
Yeah, so we get his hands bound in front of him and his safety belts off, and Delta won't actually let us attach him to the seat physically anyway.
Uh-huh.
They said it's against federal regulations to actually restrain someone to their seat.
Okay.
So you just restrain them to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, so at this point, you know, it seems like, okay, he's going to kind of calm down. He started to calm down a little bit after we had done it. And everyone, you know, we go sit back down, and the flight attendants go about their business and stuff. And I pretty much went right back to my seat and pulled my blanket on and grabbed a sleeping mask and laid back down.
How could you just, like, fall asleep?
I wouldn't cover my eyes up after that.
I know.
Well, I was trying to.
Okay, so this guy's just sitting there unbelted, but he's got his hands tied in front of him, and then what?
So I sit down, I get all the sleep stuff on. I'm kind of watching, you know, they got those really cool little video monitors now for you in your own seat. So I'm kind of looking underneath the sleeping mask. I've got it raised up a little bit. I'm trying to watch the end of the movie, and I'm trying to fall asleep, the whole deal. And at this point, I see the guy get up out of his seat and start making his way up to the front cabin.
Oh, boy.
And, you know, we're only in the third row, so we're really not that far.
Uh-huh.
So as I see him going up, I start to sit up, and I I take the blanket off and I'm unleashing my seatbelt and stuff. And the part of the story now that all my friends amuse is just pushing the sleep mask up on my forehead and not actually taking it off.
It's like sunglasses.
Right.
You just
Yeah,
slid
you
them
got
up
it.
there.
You got it. You know. So superhero, I'm not.
You should have just taken the
As
blanket.
I get to the aisle and
back of
start
your shirt.
to like look really towards the front cabin, I basically, and you could hear them yelling at one another. I basically see the passenger taking both his hands from kind of like down at his waist level, come straight up underneath the jaw of the flight attendant.
He hit the attendant with a double fist?
I mean, he nailed him. According to the paper, and I don't know how true it is, but I mean, I was definitely with him there that night. His jaws, if it's not broken, I would be really surprised.
Well, he double fisted up on him, so yeah.
I think I read that he did break his jaw. So he kind of like gave him a double-fisted uppercut.
Yeah.
That
He hit
hurts.
him pretty solid.
You could probably hear it, like it probably sounded pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Did he see it coming or no?
No.
Wow.
I mean, it just, they were kind of yelling. I mean, he was yelling the whole time anyway. So,
All right.
and he just did it.
So
at that point,
down goes the flight attendant.
knocked him backwards. He didn't hit the ground or anything. But at that point, I just took like a 2 or 3 step run and start at the guy and just hit him as hard as I could, like right in the throat area with a forearm.
All right.
And it pounds both of us. You know how in that front cabin, it's the kitchen. So it's like all those drawers and stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of what we hit into.
So
down
down goes the flight attendant.
Knocked him backwards. He didn't hit the ground or anything. But at that point, I just took like a 2 or 3 step run and start at the guy and just hit him as hard as I could, like right in the throat area with a forearm.
All right.
And it pounds both of us. You know how in that front cabin, it's the kitchen. So it's like all those drawers and stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of what we hit into. Well, as we're bouncing off of that, the flight attendant now hits us from his side, and the guy in the front seat of the first row also comes in and hit us. Now, all 4 of us slam into the cockpit door.
It's
Now-
Rockfest, the mosh pit.
So when you say that those guys hit you, I mean, they weren't trying to hit you.
No, they were just like tackling into us to try to
Right.
get control of this guy. I mean, yeah, no one was.
Now, how big of a guy are you?
I'm about 6 foot 165, so I'm not really that big.
And when you hit the guy with the forearm in the neck, did he just turn to you in rage and was ready to go for you?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, when I hit him, I really wasn't expecting it, so I guess I had that in my my favor.
And his hands
but,
are tied, yeah.
And then as soon as we bounced off the wall, the flight attendant pretty much, slammed into us, and this guy slammed into us. So it was 3 of us on him right away. The thing was, we hit the cockpit door pretty hard, and I heard, like, in the paper they were saying he was trying to get into the cockpit. But, I mean, if that door would have busted open...
Could you imagine just the pilots, like,
Startled.
wondering what is going on behind that door?
Yeah.
So then what happened?
So the 3 of us now, and probably like 1 or 2 more passengers from the cabin jump up, and the group of us wrestle this guy back to his seat. Now, the whole time we're taking him back to the seat, people are delivering blows, basically, to him in the stomach and, pretty much wherever
They're
they can
hitting
get
him on the way back to the seat? They're just
Yeah.
punching him?
Like
Yeah.
as he's walking down the aisle, people in the aisle seats are taking shots at him. It's like
So
a
by this
gauntlet.
point, the guy's face is all cut up, like his nose and his his mouth and the whole deal.
Is he saying
And,
anything
so
at all?
blood's pretty much splattering, on the cabin walls and
Is
stuff
he still
like that.
talking, Ed? Is he still saying anything?
Yeah, he's still yelling and stuff. So as we get him over and we start getting him into the seat, he's trying to spit blood on us and stuff.
Ugh.
So this one guy kind of rails off and hits him a couple of times pretty hard in the face. And he settled down then a little bit, but now we're struggling to get him belted back in his seat. And he's he's still really fighting us. If this guy wasn't on something besides just alcohol, I'd be pretty surprised because he was really strong.
Had a rage going.
Yeah, it sounded like
and,
it.
So there's like 2 guys. One guy's pulling his ponytail back. Another guy's holding kind of his arms. There's a guy holding his legs. He's just totally wide open in front of me, and we're really struggling to get this guy under control. So I don't know why. The thought just came into my mind. It's pretty tough to struggle when you can't breathe at all.
Right.
So I just came down as hard as I could on his stomach with like an axe swing
Jeez.
and just hit him in the stomach, and it winded him for, like 15 seconds or whatever, enough for us to get him belted in, and then they just basically, we didn't have another thing to restrain his legs, so
Yeah.
we wound up tying cloth napkins together, and
And hog-tied his legs together?
And hog-tied his legs together, basically.
Now, what? I mean, you're on a big airplane on the way to Maine at this point. Or no, you're on the way to London, but
Manchester, yeah.
So, what about everybody else on the plane? I mean,
are they applauding, yelling?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
I think most of them right now are just kind of in total disbelief and shock, that this is going on.
You mentioned a ponytail. Was this guy, I thought he was a businessman. Was he just some earthy dude flying around?
Yeah, he definitely seemed like an earthy guy. I don't know that I would describe him as the typical business passenger, but I don't know that I would describe myself that way either. So,
is he American or British?
He was British, which much to everyone over here is. They're real delighted to hear that when I came over and told the story.
So he's calling you bloody this and bloody that, and you wanker and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So does the pilot announce that he's going to land somewhere?
Right.
Yeah. Well, basically at this point we're probably like 30 minutes outside of the United States. We're just starting to cross the pond, and he makes the announcement that they're turning the flight back around so they can have federal authorities come on and arrest this guy. So by the time they turn the plane around, it's about 50 minutes for us to land back into Bangor, Maine. We basically just, like, 3 of us take turns sitting on this guy in the aisle.
Wow.
Or, in between his seat and the seats in front of him and stuff to keep him pinned down or whatever.
A long 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man. And, all right, so I'm guessing that the situation is slowly calming down a little bit, right?
A little bit. I mean, I think it was like one of those where the realization started to hit him a little bit now of exactly what was going on.
Right.
That they were turning the plane around and he was getting arrested and, the whole deal, so.
Did he think he was just invincible because he was in the air? I mean,
you really have no
He was
idea.
invisible because he was drunk.
He was drunk, yeah, okay, so.
And then they're going to land and I'll just go home.
So you must have blood all over you.
No, not too bad, surprisingly. There was a couple of passengers that had quite a bit on their clothes and stuff. Most of mine, for whatever reason, was just kind of on, my hands and my arm a little bit, but nothing much at all.
So eventually you land the plane, the authorities come on and haul this guy out.
Yeah, they take him out, and then the FBI interviews everyone.
Oh, you had to stay there and wait?
Oh yeah, it was like a 2-hour layover.
Okay.
In Bangor.
Was he kicking and bitching on the way out the door, or did he shut up finally?
No, he shut up. I mean, they came on basically into the plane. It seemed like riot gear. I mean, 2 of the cops had full helmets and stuff on.
Jeez. Here's what I want to know. Okay, what is Delta going to do for you?
Who knows?
What kind of, have you been offered anything from Delta? Have you been offered any kind of remuneration or?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I could possibly have. I haven't. I'm not back to the States yet, but I haven't been. I haven't been contacted by them, to my knowledge. But
yeah, I mean, there is no way.
If not even
Delta,
comp that flight, I mean,
comp
something.
Or I say comp another first-class round trip to Europe.
Because, I mean, you saved a lot of trouble. What are the pilots going to do?
Yeah.
Both get out of the cockpit and come help?
Exactly. It took 4 guys to haul this guy. And come on, let's face it, the male stewards aren't going to do. Right.
I was kind of surprised. Nobody gagged him. That's one of the things I would have done.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. As you get back and we're sitting in Bangor and talking about the stuff we should have done, like, we should have locked him in a bathroom.
Hey,
that's
too bad there's not a brig
all
on
these
a
really
plane.
good suggestions come to mind then. But
give him I'll tell you what, give him a swirly in one of those toilets. Boy, that ought to clean his flock.
That's a great story, Ed.
It was pretty interesting.
Fantastic.
Hopefully the flight back will be less eventful.
Thanks for calling us from England and giving us the story. Ed Campbell, Morning X subscriber on the Delta flight that landed in Bangor with the drunk man.
All right,
thanks a lot, Ed.
The best of the Morning X. 99X.